Hi everyone, here's reflecting on my second semester in SMU Law. Actually, I want to correct something. I was just looking through my transcript and realized that in my first semester, I actually did 5 mods instead of 4.5 because criminal law was worth a 1.5 mod. In my second sem, I also did 5 modules. They are TWC, Technology and World Change, Legal Research and Writing, RRW, Torts, Contract Law 2, and Analytical Skills, short form is AS. And Torts was worth 1.5, AS was worth 0.5, and the rest were worth 1. So in total, it was 5 mods. I think overall, I will look at the second semester as the beginning of my fall. My GPA was not as good as my first semester. It was only at about 3.5. I made a lot of mistakes in my second semester because of the thief of joy called comparison. I was actually very satisfied with my year 1 Sem 1 results the moment I looked at it. Exceeded my expectations because, like I said earlier, I only aimed to maintain my scholarship, which was to achieve a GPA of 3.4. So when I saw that my GPA was at a magna cum laude, I did feel that, yes, I've achieved my goal, and there was nothing that I should really be upset about or concerned about since I was way beyond my goal. But what happened was that, yeah, people started comparing, friends started asking, hey, how do you do? Other scholars started asking, and some people happened to score higher. Some people were at a 3.7, some people were near a 3.8. I had this friend who actually passed a comment saying that, oh, your GPA must be this and that, right? Because you're a scholar. The GPA that this friend mentioned was way higher than what I got. So I did feel quite pressured, and I felt that I still wasn't living up to people's expectations. Keyword here, people, because they were not my expectations. My expectations were just to get a 3.4. But it seemed that everybody was expecting me to score better, maybe perhaps because they knew that I did well for my contract law midterms and I was on a scholarship and all these other factors that make them believe that I was capable of scoring better score. Semester 2 came, I started off not on the best note. I started off feeling pressured, feeling like I must do better for this semester, that I need to be on the ball, and that I just cannot afford to score another magna. It wasn't exactly my goal, but that, yeah, I just felt generally pressured to do better than what I did in my first semester. My attitude towards project work did not really change much. I felt I was still not very intent on contributing to project work or very focused on ensuring that the project was going in the correct direction. I was still more lax and still willing to allow my group mates to direct, and I'll simply just do my part. So that was my general attitude. Maybe I'll just give you a rundown of how the different modules went. AS, Analytical Skills, I think now it's called something different. It was basically a mod just about logic, teaching us how to think in a logical manner. I think it's useful for lawyers. It's useful for anybody, I feel. They just have specific methods as to how you should think about something. Like, for example, if all cats are black, does it mean that all black things are cats? And the answer is no, right? Because black things can be hair, it can be your computer screen, yeah, it can be a lot of things. But yeah, basically it's just testing your logic in that sense, which I think is quite a good skill. I think my professor was really good at teaching that, and I did well. I scored an A+ for it. I think to do well, you just simply have to have more logic than the rest, and it's just your final exams that make or break your grade. This is a core module, so you are essentially on the same bell curve as everybody else from all the other faculties. And I think as a law student, you are well prepared to do this module and to excel in it. Contract Law 2. I had a very awful prof. I don't know how else to describe her, but she was such a terror and a nightmare. Like, nobody looked forward to class. She was so particular about us being on time. Nobody dared to be late. Her class was located at the School of Econs, and it's on the highest level, I think, level 7 if I'm not wrong. And waiting for the lift takes a lot of time, so a lot of people end up being late for a few minutes. And we will all be so terrified that we would be outside the class door at least 5 to 10 minutes before class starts. She was the kind of prof who would pick on names or pick on anyone to just present a case or answer a question, even if you just have nothing to say. She was really harsh. At times, she would even comment that somebody's class participation was deserving of an F. Like, she actually said that, like, that is an F. And I'm just like, no, it's really horrifying. People don't understand why professors would want to do that. It's not even conducive for learning. It just makes a student extra nervous for no particular benefit. I don't think she works there anymore. I think she has moved on. Law of Thoughts. Oh, I had a really friendly professor. I like to keep personal and profession separate. I think this prof is a very friendly prof, but like, as a person, he's a prof that I think does genuinely try to make class exciting. He will do magic tricks and, yeah, tell us stories, even sing for us. Yeah, he's the sort of prof who does try to brighten up your day. I know I didn't do exactly very well for my midterms, and the finals were just a rush. There was no time to write down my answer in full. So if you were preparing for the TOTS exam under him, I would say prepare your notes to be as accessible as possible so that you can identify the law at one glance. If not, you will certainly have no time to finish the paper. Next, Legal Research and Writing. I had an adjunct prof. She was an AR, then. I think the teaching was not fantastic at all, unfortunately. She gave no comments whatsoever to our work. So we had to submit, I think, 2 pieces of work, if I'm not wrong. I remember there was a memo and some sort of research. For the memo, it just came back with a grade, like a B or an A or something like that. And I had no idea where I went wrong, what I could improve on. Basically, she did a feedback, a general feedback to the entire class on like, oh, what the correct answer should have been and blah and blah. But it doesn't really help, right? Because everybody submitted different answers, everybody has different style of writing. So I don't see how a general comment was helpful to any of us. All of us got B for the first memo. Perhaps we did know that, okay, yeah, some points were missing here and there, but in terms of writing style or like just specific comments to what we wrote, there was none of those. It was just a grade. So when we dived into the second piece of assignment, I think it was a research paper, it was the same problem again. I felt that I didn't know what I could do better, how I could improve. Oh, I recall now, the second assignment was essentially the submissions for the mood. So it's like as though you were going to court, right? And then you have to produce written submissions and submit it to your prof. I felt like I was just going in blind, and I came out of the mod not knowing exactly what I did right and what I did wrong. Overall, I still did fairly okay for the mod. Just I felt that, yeah, I wished I had more feedback, more constructive feedback, so that I could improve on my writing and just style in general. Last mod, TWC, this is a core mod. Honestly, I find it a complete waste of time because a professor who couldn't really speak English properly. He was using all sorts of Singlish or like broken English. It's like nobody understood what he was saying, especially all my law friends. Maybe they were like business terms that all business students understood. I'm not really sure. But amongst people from the law school, we can barely catch what he's trying to say. Even when we were trying to take down notes, it would just be like question marks, question mark, question mark. Like what on earth was he trying to say? It's essentially self-learning. Thankfully, the exam was open book and could just bring in whatever information I managed to find online and copy and paste it into the exam, which I think entirely defeats the purpose of learning. But yeah, I think that's the price to pay if you come to SMU. You have to do certain funny modules that do not exactly value add. Overall, in terms of stress level, I think I didn't feel too stressed. I think I was more consistent. And I know why my grades suffered. I actually got a B for contract law 2. It's so strange that I scored really well for my contract law 1, but was a complete disaster for my contract law 2. And I think it was also the beginning of where I started trying to strive and started stressing out about whether I did well enough in people's eyes and whether my grades were good enough for a scholar. Such thoughts were slowly creeping into me. Honestly, I don't even know how I could have done better, because for contract law 2, I was just horrible. Like I could not function with such a professor. I didn't know what she was talking about. I didn't know what she was trying to teach in every case that she so-called explained. But in that mod, it was just a mismatch of expectations. For one of our projects, she expected us to argue as though, when they say, okay, advise Bernard, for example, as though Bernard was our client. But that was not the case in every other law mod. The expectation was always apply the law and state what is the likely outcome. And when she had the expectation, it was not communicated to us, so we suffered in that sense.
On a related note, it's actually very important to understand what your prof expects of you, because after all, they are the ones marking your papers, so you have to meet their expectations.
In terms of making my exam notes, this time I did make my exam notes more suitable for the exams. Yeah, so that's all for my reflection of my very strange second semester in SMU. Bye.